And we are now joined by the head coach of Nebraska football, Coach Matt Rhule. Coach, appreciate you joining us. How we doing?
I'm really well. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Appreciate you joining us. Now, I know you're a Northeast guy from New York, went to Penn State. It's been a little bit, though, since you've been in the colder temperatures. You were at Baylor and you were at Carolina. Are you reacclimating now? I saw the high is like 32 degrees in Nebraska today.
You know, at a young age, I learned just to get a really nice coat. And so I have a good coat. And, I do like the cold air sometimes hit me in the face. It kind of keeps you awake, keeps you alive. So I'm enjoying those types of days.
Now, Coach, what was it about Nebraska that made it the job for you? Because there was going to be no shortage of suitors for your services. What was it about Lincoln? What was it about the university that made it your next job?
I think there's probably three things. I think number one was the leadership here. Trev Alberts, Admiral Ted Carter. When I talked to them, the questions they asked were the things I care about: player development, being tough, being physical, kids going to class, kids getting a better life for having been here. So it told me that their mindset, the things they believed in, were the most important. I think number two, what Nebraska fans want, the style they want, playing defense, playing special teams, running the football. That's who I am. And so, sometimes it's hard to fit a square peg into a round hole. So I wanted to go somewhere that believed in the style of football that I believe in. And, JD, I'll tell you this, man, it's one thing to go to a place and try to take it somewhere it's never been. As I sit here in my office, I can see the national championship ball right there. They've won 5 national championships. So we're not trying to take Nebraska somewhere it's never been. We just want to get it back to a place that we believe it rightly deserves to be at.
And y'all right now in the middle of winter workouts, I call it like the paying dues portion of the year if you're a college football player. And someone told me once, if you don't like college football as a player, you find out really quickly in winter workouts. You learn a lot about yourself. What have you learned about your team so far through the winter conditioning phase?
That they like to work. They'll do what you ask them to do. They've been great in terms of the weightlifting. They've been great in terms of the workouts. They're attacking our mat drill portion. They're at mandatory breakfast. They're at dinner every night. They want to be good. They want to win, and that's all I care about. I mean, if someone really wants to do it and they'll put the time and the effort in, then you know what, we have a real chance.
It's a crowded quarterback room. You got Casey Thompson, Jeff Sims. What was your first impressions of those guys in that room, and what's it going to take to start at quarterback for Nebraska in 2023?
Well, I think we want a leader. We want someone that has like the it factor. And you know what? We want someone who's going to protect the football. We want to be aggressive, explosive, push the ball down the field. But we want someone who understands that we can't win if we don't protect the football. Watching the film, Casey's an excellent player. He's done a lot of great things. I knew Jeff from, my time at Baylor, watching my good friend Jeff Collins, who was the head coach at Georgia Tech. I believe, he's got a lot of potential. And, we have some other guys in that room, Chuba Purdy, Richard Torres, Heinrich Harburg. These guys are talented guys. And so I don't think you can ever have enough good players at quarterback. And we're gonna let those guys go out there, show what they can do, and go compete it out.
And obviously, whoever it is behind center will have an enormous hand in the record this year for Nebraska. But when you look at this job compared to Baylor and Temple, how does the turnaround effort, so to speak, compare to those situations when you took it over?
Well, I think, I went into some unique situations. Temple, I had been there before. I came back. But, we were making a step up in conference. And so there was some challenges there. At Baylor, when I got there, coming off a scandal, there were some real challenges there roster-wise. I think this is a much healthier situation. They won 4 games last year. They had a lead going into the fourth quarter in 4 other games. And so to me, this is about us coming in, establishing sort of the way that we do things, our process. But there's been a lot of buy-in from the guys so far. They want to win. They've been close. They really want to get it done. And so I'm excited to get out there. As you said, we're challenging them this winter. They seem to like it, and that's all I care about. We'll get to spring football and see who loves to play the game.
And Coach, having been in your program for what felt like a cup of coffee, that's one thing I've really tried to communicate to our viewers. Like, hey, process culture, that's paramount with Coach Rhule and how he's going to run his ship. How would you define the culture and the identity of a Nebraska coach or a Matt Rhule coach Nebraska football team?
Well, I think you said it really well. We can't control the results. We can't control the officials. We can't control the weather. We can't control the other team. but we can certainly be a team that's really well prepared, that has paid dues, that shows up each and every game, that wants to play the game the right way. We don't want to beat ourselves. We want to control the line of scrimmage. We want to play great special teams. We want to run the football. We want to be great situationally. And you know what? I want to be the type of team that if you come watch us play, you can't tell whether we're winning or losing. Man, we play the game one way because we love to play. We love to play for each other. We're nowhere close to that yet because we haven't built those connections and relationships yet. But we're making progress, and we're making pretty good progress, which I'm happy about.
And where does that obsession with the process come from for you personally?
When I played for Joe Paterno, and that's what he was, and worked for Tom Coughlin. Really, that's who he was. And what I'd say to you is, as early as a head coach, my first year, we were 2-10, and at one point we were like 0-6. And you're sitting there, and you're like reading, Pete Carroll. You're reading, Nick Saban, and you pretty soon learn, like, man, I can only control so many things, but if we play really hard, and we do what we're supposed to do, and we prepare really hard, and we get to the game, man, we can just cut loose, and it's such a freeing feeling. And so, I think when you listen to all the greats, man, I don't care if you're listening to like David Goggins or Jocko Willink, it's all just about like, hey, no matter what the situation is, persevere and push through, and you know what, the results will come. And so, I've just adapted that. I've tried to do it. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's unnatural. The process does not mean that you think you're going to lose. It means that, man, you're going to do everything you can with every bit of your being to win. And that's something that we're trying to establish our process here right now. As I said, it's not there yet, but I like where we're at right now.
So is Goggins and Jocko, are they in the podcast rotation for you a little bit here? Like getting in the office early, are they on the speaker for you?
100%, man. I haven't read Goggins' new book, but I just think those guys are elite. And again, I like to listen to all kinds of people. If I'm going to spend some time listening to something, unless it's a little Dave Matthews or Chris Stapleton, I'm going to listen to someone else tell me how they were successful, and so I can see how I can apply it.
There you go. When it comes to that culture and protecting that culture in modern college football, obviously everyone's going to talk about player mobility and the transfer portal. So how do you go about, in your mind, protecting that culture when there's so much moving pieces throughout college football?
Well, I think young people they want to be in a positive, stable, transparent environment. And so I can't control who wants to be here and who doesn't. But I've never been able to control that. Guys could transfer forever. They could go to FCS. They could leave and file a waiver. My thing has always been, if someone doesn't want to be here and they don't want this level of what we do, then that's okay. We don't want them to be here if they're unhappy. My job is to build a program that people want to be in. My job is to build a program where people feel valued and they feel like they're being poured into. And so we're gonna try to do it that way. And I believe that more guys will stay than won't. The guys who won't, we still love them. We want them to go be happy. And when the time comes, if someone does leave, now we have a mechanism with the transfer portal to go out and get somebody else. We're going to be mainly a high school recruiting team. We're not going to be a huge transfer portal team, but we'll take guys at the right time in the right places. And again, to me, it's all about guys having a good experience while they're with us.
Now, looking forward to spring football, what is the number one priority for you and this team to get the ball rolling headed into the fall?
We want to be a physical team. We want to tackle. We want to block. We want to run the football, stop the run, those kinds of things. So I think the biggest thing for me is establishing that culture of physicality. I believe in practicing in a competitive way. No one wants to go out there and just do drills all the time. We will do them because you need to do them. But I want to go compete, let the guys compete. And I also want to establish a culture of, man, like we're not asking you to be perfect. We want you to make a ton of mistakes. I can't fix perfect. Make mistakes, correct them, don't be defensive. And so if we can be that type of team that's so much like, hey, what's next? Don't worry about what happened. And also a team that's really physical, when the season comes, we'll have our chances in games.
And, Coach, you've been there for like 15 minutes speaking about recruiting at the high school level. Y'all had a top 30 class, got 28 guys in the 2023 class. If I'm a recruit watching this on YouTube or however I'm watching this, what is the pitch for you to get them to come to Lincoln and be a part of what you're building?
Well, I think if they come here, it's a program that wakes up every day saying, hey, how can we make these guys better? I was in the NFL. I had guys coming into me from all different places. I've seen a lot of programs, man. It's what can you do for the program? And our program's more about what can the program do for you. Doesn't mean that we make it all about you, man. We're gonna hold you to a high standard. but we're going to make sure you're the best that you can be academically, athletically. We want our guys to graduate. We want our guys to have great jobs afterwards. We want them to get master's degrees. We also want them to win championships, be All-Americans, get drafted, play in the NFL. That's all we care about. I mean, I've coached enough by now after 10 years. I'm really only here for the players. And so guys that want that, they want that love and that support, but also that accountability and standard. This is the right place for them.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you making time for us. I know you have a ton of things going. You got mat drills in the morning. I'm sure you have other media obligations, but appreciate you making time. And we're fired up to watch y'all get after it here in the spring and into the fall.
Well, I'll say this to you. I don't watch very many things because I'm busy, but I've had a chance to watch you on this, and I think you do an elite job, man. So anytime you need me, just call me, brother.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks so much. You have a great one.